And our first speaker is Avi Staiman, who is the founder and managing director of Academic Language Experts. He founded this company in 2011, specifically in order to help Israeli academics publish their research around the world. Avi has worked as a translator and editor in the humanities and social sciences, and he really has a goal of wanting to help Israeli academics publish in prestigious journals. And I'm going to turn the floor over to him.
Thank you very much, Michaela, and Boker Tov to everybody. I greatly appreciate you coming to the conference in general, and specifically to this session. It is my hope and goal that by the end of the session, we will have a clear picture of how it is that us translators can help academics, researchers, to publish their research and get them where it is that they want to go. Now, like any client that we are dealing with, regardless of what field they are in, we need to ask ourselves, what is the goal that the client has for their specific translation? What are they trying to get towards? What is their aim? And understand that the translation, specifically when it comes to academia, is one part of a long process which likely started possibly years prior to this text reaching our inbox. And therefore, it's very important to keep in mind what the goal is for our specific clients, for the academics, for researchers, in order to be able to serve them best. More than that, I would say, is that if we can actually help them with other parts of the process that they need, which are things that are related to translation, but might not be specifically translation themselves, we can actually help them to a greater extent, make ourselves more valuable in their eyes, and make more money while we're at it, being able to help them with it. So, as you can see in the presentation, I chose the image of a mountain that the academic is trying to scale. It's very symbolic for what it takes in order to get their research published. So like I said, we want to ask ourselves first, what is the goal? What is our goal? Or what is the academic's goal in publishing their research? So number one is their career, and their career depends on it. For better or for worse, academics are judged by the number of their publications, the quality of their publications, where they are ranked, what journals they are published in, which publishing houses pick them up. That's in terms of the more pragmatic, technical side. In terms of the idealistic side, the research that they are promoting is generally something that is very close to their hearts, very dear to them. And while it is wonderful to publish in Hebrew, and I think that it's a shame that less and less academic research is published in Hebrew, in order for it to be spread to where it needs to go, in order for it to have the maximum exposure to the relevant researchers, it nearly always needs to be published in the global language, which is English. As we can see, it's an ironic cartoon of someone who perished instead of published, and therefore on his tombstone says unpublished. Okay, I hope everyone can read this entertaining little blurb. I'll give you 1 minute to review.
I can't read it.
Okay, so I will give a short summary. It is a professor who is critiquing his student for not publishing at a fast enough rate, for not getting his publications out there, and the student responds, "This is my first day." So we see that there is a tremendous amount of pressure from the outset on young researchers as well as veteran researchers to be publishing often and to be publishing at a high level. Okay, now let's get to why is it important for the translator? Why is it important for us to know what the process that they're going through? So, first of all, there are a number of benefits to being an academic translator. Number one is the the materials that academic translators have the zchut to deal with are oftentimes are enlightening, oftentimes teach us new things. They're not the same menu of a restaurant that we've translated over and again. Theoretically, every piece of new research is supposed to be bringing new light into the world, supposed to be bringing new ideas into the world, and therefore it's something that we are an active part of as translators in being able to spread these ideas. In addition, the work is often very respectable work. It's something. It's work that that if we are actually good at it, it makes us invaluable. Okay, meaning this is not like the field of law per se, where there are endless translators who may be able to do a specific contract, which is a standard contract. This is something where if you have a specific expertise in a specific field, you may be one of a few individuals in the entire world who can translate from Hebrew to English in the field of 17th century philosophy. And that is something that you should keep in your mind and use as a strength when it comes to trying to recruit new clients and when it comes to actually performing the work itself. Now this little blurb on the bottom here, to me it's a bit exaggerated, but essentially what it is saying, what it breaks down is the cost of how much it takes in order to publish a research paper. Now, I don't think those numbers are accurate. However, what... But what I would say is that what's fascinating about this is, as translators, we're always thinking about, well, where is the money going to come from, right? Meaning, who has the budget to pay our rates? But when we put it into perspective and look at how much is being spent, how much time, effort, resources, money is being put into research, for it to fall at the very last stage of translation or editing is a complete shame. And it is also a tremendous waste of resources. Government resources, the university, private donors, et cetera, et cetera. So when you look at it in that perspective, so for us to charge the rates we want to charge, in order for after this long process to come to fruition, it makes perfect sense for us to be able to request those rates with confidence and not worry, well, where is the money going to come from? Because there is money that's invested in research. Now, there is a caveat. That doesn't mean that every single researcher, especially younger researchers, such as doctoral students, such as the adjunct lecturers, don't always have the funds available to them in order to publish. So we obviously need to decide where we are going to take our clients, how we're going to decide between them. Oftentimes those younger researchers require more heavier editing. So there are questions that need to be asked. It's not as simple as there's endless money out there, but we do need to, seeing the bigger picture helps us understand. Okay, let me ask a question. Let me throw out a quick question to the audience. What, from your experience, which is probably the majority of the people sitting here is longer than mine, what are the stages of publication from start to finish? It doesn't need to be in order, but what are some of the stages that are required in publishing a paper? Okay, so the research itself, of course. Right. Next.
Finding a publisher.
Finding a publisher, finding a journal that's relevant. Correct. What is it?
A proposal.
Okay, sometimes there are research, sometimes you submit a research proposal, right?
לאסוף את הרעיונות, אחרי זה לכתוב אותם, להפוך אותם למאמר עצמו.
Okay, so that's part of the research process, is to collect the data, which can be a very time-consuming process, and to organize them in an organized fashion. But even afterwards, let's think later. Yes.
Applying the suggested corrections from the journal.
Excellent. So if the journal goes to review, the reviewer will send back. Oftentimes, will send back critique. And
suggested,
suggested,
right?
Yes. Sometimes it's to rewrite the article.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah, I was going to say, submission
Excellent.
Design your endnotes and bibliography exactly the way that journal.
Excellent.
Because
Fantastic.
they're all crazy.
Correct. They are very pedantic. Yes.
In certain fields, there's a referee stage, mathematics, physics, and that really exciting stuff.
Right.
Where even before it will be published, medicine, I believe too, someone has to, mathematics has to check. Someone else has to do everything you've done and show it actually works.
Good. Excellent. So peer review stage.
Peer review stage.
Right.
and it has to be edited. Even if it's been published in Hebrew, it has to be edited. The reason promotion, you don't get, in this country, you don't get promotion on the basis of what you publish in Hebrew, only on the basis of what you publish in English.
Right.
And the reason is you can publish anything in Hebrew.
Right.
And I've seen published articles which need heavy editing to make them comprehensible. And that would, you know, without translating. That's
Got it. Okay, so excellent. We've covered, yeah.
I think it's important when you know where it is supposed to get published, if you translate, look at, not read all of them, but look at the publication and the style, the English language, the
100%.
the jargon in that publication.
100%. That's a very important point. Oftentimes, researchers don't realize they need to research where they should be publishing. It's not just, oh, Oxford is a name that everyone recognizes, let me send it to them. But that's not how it works. And you really do need to do considerable research in order to figure out. I want to move ahead, and you really hit on a number of points, and we'll see them coming up. But what I want you to take out of this is think about what, of all the processes, of all the stages mentioned here, which one of those stages can we help with, and which can't we? Okay, we can't help with all of them, and we can help with a number of them. Okay, and each one of those stages has a certain amount of value to the researcher. Not every client is going to want every single one of those stages, but if we offer some of those things that we feel comfortable with, that we feel confident with, then that can actually help us as academic translators and make us essentially invaluable to the researchers that we work with. Okay, why is it important to the country? Why is it important to Israel? This is a good zoom out and to realize that Israel is the #1 country in the world in terms of R&D spending per GDP. What does that tell us?
But most of that's private sector.
They don't need translations?
We're one of the lowest in the world in terms of public sector.
Okay, I don't discriminate, right? Private sector, public sector, Mechonei Mechkar, institutes, there's no reason to...
Private sector's not worried about being published.
Okay, but they are worried about getting their research or the results of their research out to the audience that they would like to get to.
The translation will be different in the sense that if it's academic, you want to make it as complicated as possible. And if it's private, you want to make it as clear as possible.
To be continued. I don't want to open up a can of worms here, but what this tells me when I see these numbers is that, again, like we saw before, there is our country, whether it's the government, whether it's private donors, whether it's individuals, finds R&D of all sorts to be very important. Maybe more important than any other country in the world, and therefore, translation and editing are crucial in order to make this process work. There's some numbers up there in terms of, I searched the entire web for days in order to find these numbers. The best I could find was from 2011. If anyone knows of better numbers, I'd be happy to know. But what's fascinating is you take the 5,000 senior researchers, 12,000 juniors, 10,000 doctoral students, 12,000 articles that are published every year. It's my hunch that there are more that could be published, yet oftentimes researchers do not know how to access or find the right person to edit or translate their work, and therefore they simply don't bother. And I've been told that many times. Okay. What? Sorry. Articles, no. So they didn't have a breakdown of what language those were in, which I did search for as well. And again, if anyone has those numbers, I'd love to hear, but I'm not sure what the breakdown here is. In general, the direction that the academic world is going in is less and less publishing in Hebrew, more and more publishing in English, for better or for worse. We can discuss that in the break. Okay, let's get into the nitty-gritty. What is an academic translation? So I really like this cartoon because it showed what the process is like in the mind of the researcher. It's a very intimidating process. I apologize for the...
Could you read it for text?
Yes, I will read you the text because it doesn't come out so clearly. So what are different kinds of academic translations? I put up a few here. Journal articles, books, lectures, research proposals, there's questionnaires. So let's think wide spectrum, right? Meaning oftentimes when we're doing academic work, so then they will say, well, I have a CV, right, that needs to be translated. It doesn't need to be only journal articles, right? Oftentimes these specific projects will actually lead us to other projects within the university, within the researcher's own life. Okay, and now the bottom right is actually a summary of many of the things that were mentioned here. What are the tangibles, right? Tangibles being those things that we can actually say, here are the services that we can provide as an academic translator, as an academic editor, which are of value to our researchers. So obviously the translation and editing, that's the crux, that's the meat of our work. Choosing a journal for publication depends how closely you know the field. If you know a specific field very well, oftentimes you will be able to help them in order to at least come up with a general idea of what publications might be relevant. If you don't know it, don't say it. Oftentimes people will ask me, well, I have an article in semantic linguistics, and tell me from your experience which journals I should publish in. So, there are thousands of journals in the world, and I am not an expert any more than you. You can speak to your colleagues. However, if it's a field that you yourself have researched or you yourself are familiar with, you're welcome to provide that as a service. Researching primary sources and titles. This is a very, very time-consuming process. Often takes us to different libraries in order to find certain quotes that the author does not have time to look up. That should not be quoted at the same price as a regular translation. That is essentially research. Formatting according to the style sheet or chosen journal. This is what I like to call avodah shchora, in that it means that we have to make the footnotes or the bibliography or the style according to the specific journal we are submitting to. I would say about 90% of the articles we receive, the author has not thought about exactly, has not prepared the article according to the specific style sheet, and therefore there's a lot of work to do there. That is something which we can help with if it's something that interests us, and soon I'll give some tools in order to do that. And preparing a cover letter or personal bio. Okay, reasons articles are rejected. And this is an important list if we want to understand. If we go back to the beginning of the talk, what did I say? We have to understand what is the goal of our researcher. And the bottom line is they would like to get published. And if they want to get published, then even if we do the most fantastic translation and edit in the world, they might be disappointed with our work because the article is not published. Is that in our control? Absolutely not. Okay? However, what we can do is, again, and this can be a tangible, this can be something of value that we provide, is as part of our process, we can actually offer a review, much like a peer review. If we feel confident in a specific field, at least as it relates to the things that we are familiar with. Again, we should not be pretending to know things that we don't. Some of these things are things we can help with. Some of these things are not. It fails the technical screening. If we read the instructions carefully and the author relies on us to do that, should not fail it. We can help with that. It does not fall within the aims and scope. So if we help them choose a journal, we need to make sure that it falls within the aims and scope. If they have told us which journal they're using, that's not something that we can necessarily control. And you can read the rest of the list. But essentially, and this list was compiled by an editor of an academic journal, and he was talking about why specific papers are or not accepted. So we should go through this checklist before the article is published. Again, I'm not talking about, I don't want people to get confused here, I'm not talking about free work. We have to figure out how to turn these into tangibles, into things that we can actually charge for.
Is this uniform for the sciences and also the social sciences and humanities?
It's a good question. I don't see why not. Okay, I don't know. I can't remember where Peter Thrower is what article he edits. What journal he edits. It's a valid question. There could be certain distinctions between social sciences and exact sciences, life sciences, etc. But I think as a whole, I think these principles are fairly applicable across the board. By the way, I want to add one more thing. That another thing that journal editors often say is they read the abstract. When they receive an article, they read the abstract. The abstract is, and think about this, we've gone through an entire process of hundreds of years, possibly, of research, and writing the entire paper, and translating it in the entire paper. And it's all up to 150 to 200 words. What that means is that, and I will add more than that, if the abstract was not edited properly, was not translated properly, the article oftentimes will not get read. And that means that we can have a researcher who's curing cancer, but that research does not get out there because it's not written properly. And that gives me chills if we think about it, because it's such a shame, and it's something that all of us in this room can help with and can help fix. So it's very important. You know, that's something that's a tip that I would share with a potential client, or with someone who, you know, who maybe is not sure, they're considering whether they should spend the money on a translation or editing or not. That's something that we can share with them. Okay, choosing a journal for publication. I don't want to get too deep into this. You can read through these points. Oftentimes, I have doctoral students or postdoc students who say, I want to get published in the top journal right away, and I got rejected. And for some of these students, or for some of these young researchers, this is the first time they have been rejected from anything in their entire lives. And it is crushing, because they were aces through high school, they did fantastic in college, they were accepted to the PhD, and all of a sudden, how? Rejected? Me? I've never been rejected in my life. So we need to sometimes bring them to their senses and to say, it is important to start the publishing process, especially nowadays, when we get to social media soon, especially nowadays where oftentimes journals will do a quick Google search and say, who is this guy? Where is he published? And to submit an article to the top 50 journals and not get accepted is not nearly as valuable as submitting to possibly not a grade A journal, but maybe a grade B or C journal that has a tremendous amount of value, might be more appropriate for the specific topic, and would actually be much more successful, and that can lead them, the critique that they receive from them can lead them to further articles that can help them with their research.
One quick question.
Yes.
If an article is published in a C journal, it will never be published again, correct? So if you think,
Any journal.
right,
So, I mean,
each one is published only in one journal.
Correct,
I just
correct.
want to make sure of that. Okay,
Now,
thank you.
there are certain academics that magically seem to write the same thing in different words and publish it in multiple journals. Split down if they can successfully do that. You know, that's not our business really. And if we're familiar with their terminology and their wording and how they structure their papers, so it helps us because we're familiar with the topic. However, all the journals that I've seen have specific rules saying not only you can't even submit two at a time, mostly. Forget about publishing in one. Okay.
But they can use the same research for different, they change it a little,
correct,
they take it
correct.
different aspect.
That's what I was saying
paper,
before.
this
Correct.
is that.
Correct.
You can make a career out of one thing.
Yes, but they often do.
Okay, now I wanna point out that even if we don't have the ability to, even if we're not confident, let's say, finding a journal for the researcher, or doing all of these things, posting relevant social media forums, right? A lot of these seem like real time burners. What I suggest, okay, for those things that we don't have confidence to do ourselves or we can't do ourselves, on our website we have a page which is dedicated to helpful resources that the academic can use. And when they ask you these questions, instead of either pretending or saying, I don't know, you say, visit my website, visit the page where I have these links to places that can help you and find relevant journals, find relevant tips, blogs online. There's plenty out there that will be helpful to them. And I put on the bottom here, helpful resources for finding journals. There are 2 journal finders. I don't think they're perfected yet, to be perfectly honest. What it means is basically they take tags, they take the main words from the journal and try to find the appropriate, from the article and try to find the appropriate journal. The level of success varies, but it's a good start, and you can work from there. Okay, here are the actual tangibles in terms of what we were discussing before, the meat of the project, the text itself. So we need to keep these in mind, not only when we're doing the project, but before when we're pricing it. We need to review the article very carefully because a lot of these can be real hang-ups and take a lot more time than we expected by the time we're finished. So translating and editing the text, we need to think about, are there any words that need to be transliterated, especially with Jewish studies, that can take a lot of time. There's multiple transliteration styles and formats. Formatting the article, as we discussed before, there are different styles, the main ones being Chicago Manual Style, APA, American Medical Association. There are many different styles out there, Harvard, and it's very important to check carefully before you start, if indeed the scholar would like that, and you should price that in addition to the translation of the article. For half the articles I receive, they don't realize that they're going to be way over the maximum words. Oftentimes, in the Hebrew that we receive, it's over the amount of words that the journal requires in English. And by the time we finish in English, it's double what's supposed to be. And some of them will say, oh, but they like me and they know me, so they'll put it in. Doesn't usually happen. Oftentimes, it's ad kedei kach that I suggest write 2 articles. Right now you have 1 article. See if there's a logical way to split it into 2. And don't even bother sending to a journal that's not even going to look at it because of its size. In terms of a very helpful tool for how do we do this whole, how do we change the bibliography and the footnotes according to the style that we want to use, is EndNote. I suggest everyone visit their site and take a look around. It's a fantastic tool. You can start typing in a name of an author or journal, and it will actually pop up the full citation. And
Spell it?
EndNote.
EndNote.
Yes. And even more than that, once we put in the information into EndNote, it can then, with 1 click, manipulate it and turn it into any style that we want, which is incredible and saves hundreds of hours. You know what? I apologize. I want to finish up. We'll do 5 minutes of questions. Anyone who has additional questions, I'm happy to do it afterwards. Okay. Next. Okay. Upselling your translation follow. What's upselling means that we've made a deal with, or we've come to an agreement with a specific client, with a specific researcher for a certain amount of money, and we need to find ways, even after we've finished the contract, to possibly even add on more. Okay, possibly figure out ways that we can make even more off the project. And the way to do that is what was discussed before. Is it comes back with tons of revisions. Right now, the author needs to rewrite a significant chunk of that. So we need to get again charged for that new work that's completed. So oftentimes it'll be the work that we're doing will actually be even more valuable than we initially thought because there's additional work that comes in depending on the journal and the respective researcher. And 80% of articles are rejected on first submission, so that happens very often. Okay, be careful. Don't never say, I can get you into this journal. It's not up to you, unless you're the editor yourself and it protects you, but don't make promises that you can't keep. Be realistic with the client, especially again with younger researchers, and explain to them that they may or may not be able to, their article may likely not be published. Thank God there are thousands of journals, and they can go and submit it to a new one. Which, by the way, if we're talking about upselling, might be in a different style format, and then we can again charge for the adaptation to the new format. Okay, we want to be honest here. What are the downsides to academic translation? Or when I say this, I'm saying it in the context of us as translators. What are some of the difficulties and challenges that we face? So there can be numerous revisions, and oftentimes it becomes a conflict about what should be counted as new words, what should be counted as corrections to the work that we do. It's not like other fields where they, oftentimes receive the text and just put it up on their website. That rarely, if ever, happens in academia. The clients can be challenging. They're academics. They're not they're very pedantic about their work. It means a lot to them. It's a slower pace than other texts. You're almost always learning something new. It's not something that you've done before. So it takes a while, just like any new project, in order to get into it. And it takes time to establish and improve yourself. But that downside, I want to say, is also an upside, because the harder it is to become established and proven, the harder it is for someone else to then come and take your place, because you really are a specialist. Okay, how can you perfect your skills and gain new clients? So you obviously want to think about, what are my expertise? Okay, when I receive CVs, I want people to hone in, what is your niche? What do you excel at? Academia is not a place to start testing and tinkering. Meaning, what I mean by that is that if we're trying to learn a new language and we want to start translating that, don't start with academia. That's my suggestion. Take those things that you are an expert at, that you feel most confident with, and become the expert in that field. And while it may seem like a very small niche, you never know when there's going to be a researcher that is familiar with your field that needs exactly you, and you are the perfect person for that text. Be active on social media groups. You probably hear that in every lecture, so I'm not going to harp on about it. We'll talk about social media in a minute. And attend academic conferences. There's a woman who I cooperate with, a lovely woman from Efrat, who she will research she will find people's research, find where they are speaking at a conference, will edit their research, and after they're done with their presentation, will present them with their edited research in hand. A lot of chutzpah. I do not have this much chutzpah. And she will tell them, if you're interested in having a high level of research, here's my number. I'm in awe of what she does. I don't know if it might be going a bit too far, but she is busy and she charges what she wants to charge. So maybe the last laugh is on us. But for sure to attend conferences in those areas that you specialize in order to gain new clients. Social media sites academics hang out on. I'm a big fan of academia.edu. If you're not there, get there. It's the Facebook for academics. They publish they put up their research there. It's creating all sorts of chaos in the world of academia and with journals and open access. ResearchGate is also a very common one. And then there's Ulusar Mentally. I'm happy to speak to you afterwards about how to use these sites. Word about ILE. I started, like Michaela said, I started the company in order to help Israeli academics publish their research abroad. I hope to expand to other countries as well, which will be nice because we'll be able to bring a lot of business into Israel for editors who work here in the field of academia, because most research is being written in English that needs editing from foreign language countries. Right now I'm looking for someone to translate a physics book from Hebrew to English, 60,000 words. Please let me know if you know anybody. And in all fields of academia, and you're welcome to be in touch when it becomes relevant. And now, anyone has any questions? Okay, great, thank you. I was gonna speak to you specifically because I thought you might. Yes.
You mentioned before about the number of words being greater than exceeding the amount that the person is allowed to have in publishing in the journal. It's been my feeling that articles that are published here in Israel or Israeli academics put in a ton of footnotes. They can come to like 50% of the article or sometimes even more. And I always suggest to them that if they want to cut down, they should start with the footnotes and really just get rid of a lot of it, because so much of them could be the part of another article or whatever. Do you have the same sense that Israeli researchers, academics tend to overdo the footnotes compared to...
My answer to that question is, I'm going to wear two caps. My personal sense is, yes, I agree. There's oftentimes it feels like it's fillers and it's not necessary. My business cap says we need to research the specific journal and see, is that something that they are generally accept? Meaning, do they prefer to have heavy footnoting in the articles, right? Or is it something that they really are very light? So that's part of the service that we can provide when we're looking for the appropriate journal. Is if we see that this is article is very heavily footnoted, and the specific journal does not, is not a fan of such a thing, we can bring that to the attention of the researcher. That's a value that we can provide.
I want to ask if you could, I realize this is the end of the session, if you could quickly go over what is included in the price and what isn't included in the price, because this one tends to be and I can't imagine, it's amazing how many times I tell people with the work, I said, if you're quoting from Ford, if you're quoting from a work that was translated into English,
right.
you have to quote from the English version and the page number, and I'm not going to do that.
Right.
And why you're not going to do that, there's things you need to know at the beginning. So I just wanted to check that I'm on terra firma. I'm here to write the list.
So she wants to know what this relates back to the question of what are the tangibles that we can actually charge for. What are those services that we can turn around and say, this takes us time, this takes effort, and this is a certain expertise that we have. Now, the way I generally respond to something like that is one of two ways. Either this will require a trip to the library, okay? I'm willing to do it, okay? But it will require my time and energy. So this is the cost that it will be. If you do not want to do that, so for things like that, there are student assistants who can help. And to be honest, I don't know if they necessarily need us to go and look in the library to find the appropriate passage. They might not, and if they want to save money, they can do it that way. But they do need to realize that that's going to cost extra because of the work that's involved. And you're right, that is an educational process. We are essentially educating them about what work goes in on our end in order to do that. We're working on a big project now, translating a book about biblical criticism, and the client expected that all of our translators were going to sit in the National Library. And I said, not if everyone lives in Jerusalem and can sit in the National Library. So, and this was after we went through the whole process, and then I said to her, not everyone that we have allocated for this book lives in Jerusalem. And some of them don't have access to some of these texts. So, and that was only something that came up, afterwards, and we had to work that out.
But I'm saying, but for example, the bibliography, for example, searches that you can do on the internet. There are those you can find books, Google books. You can find a lot of things on the internet. And a footnote can take you like half an hour to whatever. What is accepted?
I'll share a tip. What we try and do, okay, because the searches can be so time consuming, and we separate between what I call, in the beginning we split between translation and editing. That was a mistake. Okay? What I learned is we need to separate between translation and formatting. Okay? Because assuming that formatting needs to be a separate service that we provide. You have two choices, right? You have two choices when you're coming to do a translation with us. You can either choose translation, and we are going to keep the footnotes and the bibliography exactly how it was, translated, the way it needs to be translated, or we will offer you the translation and formatting. And formatting is whatever X amount, a dollar amount that we get. And if that's clear from the outset, then it's their choice. And sometimes researchers will pay us to do that because they don't want to or they don't have time to. And sometimes they'll say, you know what, I actually don't want to spend that extra money, I will do it myself, but I still want you to do the translation. In which case, it's still beneficial because we're only doing the work that we have to.
What do you mean by format? What is included in formatting? What is included in this word format? Is that
formatting?
Searching?
What did you say?
What is searching for this
research?
Right. So that's a little bit separate than formatting, and that's something that another important piece is that I do have. Sometimes I work with numerous translators, and afterwards they'll come back and say, I really expect to be paid more because I did more work than I originally thought I was going to do. And what I say to them is, do me a favor, don't answer right away. Look at it carefully, go over it carefully, see how much work is going to be involved, and then send a price. And then we can discuss price based on your initial thing. Sometimes we want to send out a price quote quickly because we want to be able to gain the project. When it comes to academia, they've spent years doing this. It's a big investment. Let's us take the time to see what work is going to be involved for us and then price it accordingly. And if they don't accept it, they don't accept it, and that's okay. We'll move on to the next project. But it's not worthwhile for us to take something which is going to take hours of research that we haven't been remunerated for. Thank you very much. I'm happy to. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere, and I'm happy to answer any further questions.
Thank you for a very enlightening talk, Avi. A small gift on behalf of the ITA. And I'd like to invite